Welcome to Thursday, June 26, 2025. Your Day Weather Podcast brought to you by ConverseCountyTourism.com. Feel the energy of Converse County. Explore Douglas's Railroad Heritage, Ayers Natural Bridge, and the Jackalope Legend. Glen Rock boasts scenic trails, dinosaur history, and small town charm. Plan your visit at ConverseCountyTourism.com. This is one of many photos of rainbows I'm going to show you here in a moment. Nice shot there from Cheyenne from thunderstorms and showers yesterday evening. Made for the perfect scenario to have a rainbow. Today, the Central Rockies will have drier air, more calm conditions. This is especially true in Wyoming and Colorado, but Montana and down into New Mexico, you're going to have a better chance of showers and thunderstorms today. The better instability and more severe weather will be further out on into the plains, and that'll be something this weekend. Out into the plains, severe weather is going to be around, with more garden variety thunderstorm activity along and east of the divide, with temperatures warming up for everybody. Very impressive early season monsoonal plume of moisture is coming next week. We'll talk about that and show you what we're seeing. Now, we talked about rainbows. There's the same rainbow. Beautiful shot there. Got that whole rainbow across the sky. But what could be better than these last two rainbow pictures? How about a rainbow picture with ducks? There you go. I don't know how you can make it much better than that. Nice scene set across southeastern Wyoming yesterday. And yesterday, we didn't have that cap nearly as strong. So with a little bit of daytime heating, showers and thunderstorms did get going. Here's a great shot from Jan Curtis. Now, what's even better than that, because you know what's coming next, is to be able to put this in a time lapse to show the development of the turbulent skies that popped up once we got some daytime heating. And you can really see that coming together with a lot of texture there in the clouds. And it was a situation yesterday where we had what we call pulse type thunderstorms, to where they would develop and grow fairly quickly, do their thing, then dissipate rather quickly. But then they did come together later in the evening and were better rain producers. And depending on where you are in the region, there has been a lot of rain, especially down in New Mexico. Roswell has picked up over 3 inches of rain over the last couple of days, and some more flooding advisories down south. And you can see a lot of structure from those showers and thunderstorms yesterday and all the way down into the front range of Colorado. A little bit deeper moisture, closer to that monsoonal moisture plume in Colorado Springs, but all the way out into the panhandle of Nebraska at Fort Robinson State Park. And then a little bit of vorticity. We'll call this a vorticity. This could be maybe described as a cold air funnel up on the summit area between Laramie and Cheyenne, but I actually drove by and saw this thunderstorm coming together. And you'll get these little vortices as you start to get that circulation in thunderstorms, but it just couldn't get over the top and become a well-formed storm. As we go into the next couple of days, a lot of you are going to see a lot more in the way of sunshine, but we'll have some of this afternoon cloud buildup like we see here yesterday along the Bighorns. Also down in Colorado Springs, before the thunderstorms got started, beautiful shot of a cirrus clouds and some altocumulus clouds right there, and then some iridescence, as you can see right here from those cirrus clouds yesterday. Wonderful photos, everybody. Thanks for sending them on in. The satellite photo this morning shows an eastward shift of that ring of fire, that moisture plume. We can still see some areas of cloudiness. This is associated with low pressure up there and across Idaho, and it shows up really well. When we look at the water vapor, here's that punch of drier air coming into the Central Rockies. Here's that low that will cause some thunderstorms up north. And in this monsoonal plume of moisture, you're going to get thunderstorms that'll be down here. And you can really see that very well in the precipitable water. As we go through the course of the next several days, we'll see those brown areas kind of hang around. The darker green and blue areas kind of hang around where they are right now. So this is where the thunderstorm action will be today, north and south. When we take a look at the 500 millibar pattern, we've got this little upper level wave. This is what initiated a lot of the thunderstorms yesterday. Here's another wave that's going to be affecting those areas up north. And then we still have this heat dome in the east, which is showing signs of finally weakening. But you can see there's going to be an eastward push of the better moisture flow out into the plains. By the time we get into the weekend, this is Sunday, that upper low is going to be going across the Dakotas into the upper Midwest, while a high starts to rebuild here over New Mexico and Arizona. And the flow becomes flatter. So that's going to be able to erase a lot of the heat in the Great Lakes and the northeastern areas of the United States. However, with this placement of the high, when it's here or it's a little bit further east, well, the clockwise flow starts to draw up that monsoonal moisture, and we'll see that really start to develop this weekend. So let's step forward the next several days. So we showed you today. Tomorrow, we're going to have an access to deeper moisture, and you can see the brighter colors here. We talked about severe weather. Severe weather is a real threat into these areas right here. The deeper moisture, the drier air coming in from the west, and the strong daytime heating on the east slopes of the Rockies will set the stage for what is going to be some severe weather up in the Dakotas and parts of Nebraska. We'll need to watch that down into Oklahoma as well. But you can see there's really not that much here west of the divide. But as we go through the weekend, this is Friday, and that's where the severe weather threat's going to be tomorrow into those northern plains. This is Saturday. Now the moisture creeps a little bit further west to the Front Range, but you can see, again, another opportunity to where there's going to be some strong thunderstorm activity out into the plains. As we get into the weekend, the start of the weekend, those northern plains, again, in the bullseye of the severe weather threat. As we get into Sunday, we're going to have an active evening and late afternoon in Nebraska, parts of eastern Wyoming and northeastern Colorado. As that high pressure we showed you starts to go west, it's going to maybe take that monsoonal moisture and push it a little bit more west to the Front Range areas. And you can see New Mexico under it again, West Texas all the way through here. Just get used to thunderstorms. And that is going to be something we're going to talk a lot about as we go into next week, because this is what will happen. This is the start of the weekend. You can see this area of dry air that's still in place, that's coming in right now, that's still going to be there Saturday. There's the darker green colors. The plume gets shifted south and east for a little bit. But as we step forward and see what happens over time, this is Sunday. We have a little bit of moisture backing up against the Front Range, the I-90 corridor, along I-25 here. That's why those thunderstorms develop further west on Sunday. But watch what happens down here over time. Watch what happens down here. This is for Sunday. Look what happens by Tuesday. We see it getting further west into Arizona. The brown gets pushed back into the deserts. We've got a low up here in the Pacific Northwest, but all of this area right here, you're going to have some active thunderstorm activity. We don't see a lot Monday, but boy, on Tuesday it gets started, and then this is Wednesday. See how it gets deeper? This is by Thursday. The dark blue colors here, you're looking at the precipitable water 200% of normal. You got to keep in mind this is really significant because 100% of normal in early July in terms of water vapor is impressive. So if you're 100%, it's impressive. If it's 200%, that's deep moisture. And notice it's getting into Utah. Look at western Colorado, south central Wyoming, even up here to Montana, all the way down here. So this is something that mid to late July you would see. We see this in early July sometimes. We certainly didn't see it last year. So what this means that, especially between Tuesday and Friday of next week, this deeper monsoonal moisture plume is going to really be a big thunderstorm producer, and it's going to get on the western slope of Colorado. It's going to get into Arizona and Utah. It's going to get some areas of south central and western Wyoming that could use some rain, and get up into parts of Idaho and Montana as well. Now, I want to go back in time a little bit to kind of highlight with sometimes I show you these seasonal or long-range models, and you kind of always have to take them for a grain of salt, and you should never take them at face value. But when we have talked about whether or not we were going to have a decent monsoon season this year, we talked about the Canadian model, the seasonal model that the Canadians put together, and I have to give it a lot of credit. This is from March 1st. Now, for March 1st, for the month of July, it was advertising that there was going to be a robust monsoon season. So back in March, it was sniffing it out. Is the Canadian model always right? No. In fact, sometimes the Canadian model can be really bad, like they all can. But it sniffed it out and was very consistent throughout the course of the year. The model that I talk about all the time and give a lot of praise to, the European model, for its forecast that was made in March for July and June, looked like this. So not nearly as impressive, and actually we could argue is going to likely end up being wrong. Now, the European model that came out on June 1st was showing this, or let's say getting closer to it. But the Canadian model, we have to give it an award, a medal. It sniffed out the summer monsoon much better than the higher resolution European and American models. It really, really did. And now what we're seeing is the European models, the American models for the next 30 to 60 days are seeing what the Canadian model saw here. You never want to take these long-range models at face value. You just want to look at the trend, and you kind of want to look at where it's maybe sniffing things out in terms of where patterns may evolve. It's never going to be a situation where it's going to exactly get things right. But boy, the Canadian did very well there. Taking a peek at the 4th of July weekend, and we'll spend more time early next week. I know a lot of folks will be having a long weekend and will want a weather forecast for the weekend. There's that trough of low pressure. Indeed, it's not going to sink in and bring snow for the 4th of July weekend, at least into the United States. But we will likely have some fireworks from Mother Nature with thunderstorm activity. This would be a matter of where and trying to figure out where it will come together. Have yourself a great Thursday. We'll see you tomorrow.